Welcome to How to Make a Mosaic. You're looking at a mosaic I made at an evening class where I went to learn the basics, 5 sessions at 2 hours a session. It came out okay, so I started to gather my collection of old crocks, pots, tiles and ceramics and sea glass. I got my tools together. As you can see, I've got clippers, hammer, file, pencil and a wooden block. My block's made of oak. Needs to be a hardwood. The file's half round and it's an old one. The clippers I bought new off the internet. Well, you're also going to need a plastic tub with some tile cement in it and a bag of grout. This is so it stays dry, because if it gets overly wet or damp even, it will go off. You'll also need a knife and an old pot to mix your tile cement or grout in. And the knife also is used to stick the tiles to your wall. The other thing is a float, if you can get hold of one, and a brush. I was a bit nervous, so rather than get stuck into a huge project, I made a little tabletop. It's on wood, waterproof cement, waterproof grout. I'm really chuffed with it. I was ready to set off on my big project. After several years of looking for something good to put on my wall, I found this picture. I love the colours and I loved these lines. I like the way they all interlocked with each other and flowed. Obviously it looks like water. A quick practice using different colours and I was good to go. I kept my workspace really small so that I could cover it up at night. I decided, as this is over 7 metres long, that I would work in short sections of 50 centimetres. Here you can see me drawing my next section of design. I'm drawing in where the last section finished and being very precise about the angle of the pieces, the size of them and exactly which pieces they were. I want one panel to flow into the next panel seamlessly, so I have to take care with this, matching up precisely. Take as much time as you need over this. Mark on the boundary of your surface. For me it's a narrow strip. Now the fun begins. You can draw your design, flowing on from the previous panel. Write on the colour that you're using for each bit, the type of tile or ceramic, so you're really clear about what's going to be placed where. You'll probably notice I've got my piece of original artwork in front of me on that little stand. It's a great help to help remind you of what shapes it is you really liked in the first place. It's funny how fast you forget. Hopefully by now, having made a couple of things, you'll have a working system that suits you. I like to have my work on the tray, as you can see, laid out clear next to all the chips and broken bits of pottery. I've got another tray that I tip everything onto as I'm using it. So here I'm using sea glass, which is beautiful. Spread it out a bit, have a look, see what you've got. Now I'm going to add some black. When you add black, or any colour that's small, you'll need to use your snips. So suddenly you've gone from freestyling it with that lovely sea glass to actually putting on individual little bits that have to fit a space. It doesn't have to be that accurate unless you want it to be, but it does need to more or less fit. So rummage around, see what you can find, and just enjoy yourself. In no time at all you'll be filling your plan with bits and pieces. Technique's really important. My hands are a bit rubbish, and so rather than simply squeeze with my fingers and thumb, I press down on the pliers onto the wood with my whole hand. The hammer, just keep things covered as you whack them a little bit so they don't fly up and hit you in the face. Obviously safety specs should be worn and all the rest of that malarkey. But hey, we're only human. These snips not only cut nice shapes, but also you can nibble with them. Having nibbled, you might want to file the edge of your tile or ceramic just to make it a bit smoother. And here's a quick time lapse. I'm laying out some of the pieces for my next 50cm panel. Enjoy! Here I'm putting on some lovely black pieces, just like I did earlier. And some lovely grey tiles. They look almost white on this, but honestly they are a dappled grey. This is a lovely way to spend time. It's very good for the mind. And there are no right and wrong ways of doing this. If it looks good to you, then it is good. If it looks bad, take it off, have another go. You can't go wrong with this. Now I'm going to start with some of the crockery, the broken crockery I've been given. This is from a cappuccino mug. It was a beautiful shade of blue. I loved it. Here's the start of a run of odds and ends. I'm not quite sure what I was using here. I don't know what I was thinking, but actually it looked pretty nice. Thank goodness. A basic rule might be, if you liked it when it was a pot, you'll like it on your wall. Now at last we can mix our cement and butter it onto the backs of our ceramics. Having buttered your ceramic, all you do then is stick it onto the wall. And remember, more or less tile cement on the back of your ceramic will make it sit more or less proud of your wall. Now for the grouting. I don't ice cakes. I'm rubbish at it, but I can do this okay. Now this float I'm using has a foam base with what feels like lino on it, so it's quite slippery and spongy. It's very, very nice. What you need is to just get the grout on the wall and push it into all the gaps and spaces you can see. You need to move that float or whatever you're using, piece of sponge, whatever, around in all directions. Here I'm using a bit of sponge to polish off some of the grout because it's going off now, it's setting a bit. If it's too damp, it will just smear around. Leave it a few minutes and it'll be fine. I really enjoy the finish I get when I use a scrubbing brush over the grout. It's textured. If you don't like it, go over with a sponge straight away. Why not try both and see what you think? All I have to say is you need elbow grease to do this, and you need to do it while the grout is still damp. Do not leave it overnight or go and have lunch and then come back to it or anything like that, because once it's set hard, it will come off. It's not a big problem, but by heck, you're going to be working very, very hard to get it off. And nobody wants that, because this is hard enough. Once you've finished with the brush, you might want to go back to the sponge. Remember, the sponge has got two sides. You're trying to get all the bits off the surface of the tiles and what have you. And you're trying to make the tiles shiny. So there's a little bit of work still to be done. Just keep going like this until you think it looks good enough. Here you can see I've just slapped a load of grout in there. I'm moving across. You can see an area where I've polished the grout off. You can really tell the difference between the two. I was grouting about 2 metre lengths each time. After all this buffing and polishing, you can see a lot of mess on the floor. Please sweep that up quickly, because now you're going to wash your wall to get all that dust off. Give it a good old scrub. It'll come up a treat. Honest. And here's the finished wall. 3 weeks of my life that I will never get back. But it does bring me pleasure when I sit in the kitchen and look out. Beautiful. Even though every now and then I see something that I would change, or I see something that I really don't like, it doesn't matter, because I'm very happy with the finished job. Final piece of work was to make these 2 6-inch hearts for the 2 people that gave me masses of broken crockery so that I could complete this job. I could not have done it without them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are my heroes. And finally, I hope this has been helpful to you and has inspired you to have a go at mosaicing. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to watch this little video. Please feel free to look at more of our videos here on this channel, and also you can go to our blog at wandering-wallies.blog. Many thanks, Jen and Wally.